Hello, everyone. Welcome again to another Teacher Joseph podcast. In our weekly lesson of this week, we're talking about ID cards. And if you haven't read my weekly lesson yet, you'll soon discover when you read it that ID cards are not part of daily life here. Many of you have been asking how we manage without ID cards. And it's true that here and in America, we don't have ID cards, but we do have social security numbers. We also have some kind of photographic ID that might be, for example, at work. Many people have ID passes. Passports they have our name as well as our photograph. Passports also have our date of birth. Some other places do issue cards to us. For example, the train company, if you want to buy a weekly ticket and you're not using your mobile phone, then you may be entitled to use a photographic ID as well. And even I think for some train tickets online, they create an online ID for you as well. So we do have ID cards, but not a national database operated by the government. And there is a scheme in the UK. If you're younger, I think you can apply for an ID card to prove your age if you're lucky enough to look very young, but it's not a government-sponsored thing, and I wouldn't know what it looks like, but shopkeepers would, of course. So there is ID available if you need it, but not at a national level. Now, speaking about identity, I told you yesterday about my neighbor who, unfortunately for him, assaulted his wife and was taken away by police, and he hasn't been allowed to return home yet. I don't know where he is or what he's doing. But one of the headlines in our newspaper today, which is the 23rd of June, it's Tuesday, says violence against women is now a national emergency. And this is on the front page of The Guardian underneath the Camilla Harris story, which is on the front, I think, of most newspapers today. So we're going to read through this, and we're reading through this as part of our study of identity cards, because many men here still have this idea or this identity that it's okay to physically harm other people. Of course, that idea, which is prehistoric, really, is dying and changing. But we have a lot of men here who still feel that it's okay to hurt other people. That comes out in bullying in the workplace, harming your wife or children. And it's not just women. Many men suffer from toxic masculinity as well. And of course, many men are also assaulted by females. And you might find that funny. Explaining to a few of you on italki, it seems that many of you find that very amusing, but it's a very serious issue and one that has to be taken very seriously. So this story here says violence against women is now a national emergency. It's very sad. It says about 2 million women are estimated to be victims of violence perpetrated, by men each year in an epidemic so bad it amounts to a national emergency, the police have warned today. Crimes including stalking, that's when you follow someone, harassment, that's when you don't leave someone alone, sexual assault and domestic violence affect 1 in 12 women in England and Wales, with the number of recorded offences growing by 37% in the past 5 years, with the perpetrators, the offenders, getting younger. You might be asking, why is this only England and Wales? Well, of course, every part of the UK now has its own government, and for the purposes of this kind of research, England and Wales is often grouped together. Bearing in mind that more people live in London than the entire population of Scotland, I guess England would have a much higher rate of crime in general, because there's more people. I don't know what it's like here, but certainly with regards to violence and harm against women, yeah, it's bad. Okay, right, let me just continue reading. It says here, police chiefs are also warning of young men who are listening to social influencers, and they're being radicalized, and they're demanding that technology companies act more quickly to take down extreme material. The police are saying, we estimate that at least 1 in every 12 women will be a victim of some kind of violence, and 1 in 20 adults in England and Wales will be perpetrators. They'll be carrying out these terrible things. And it says here about the number of offenders. The Guardian, this is the newspaper from where this article comes from, they've launched something called Killed Women Counts, a project reporting on every woman allegedly killed by a man in 2024, whose stories go untold. And the Prime Minister has promised to halve these numbers within the next 10 years by introducing specialist police and emergency workers. The figures here are quite horrific, just to warn you. 1 in 6 homicides in England and Wales are linked to domestic abuse. Now remember, that's not only men assaulting women, that could be men assaulting men. In the gay community, this is quite a big deal as well. It also could be any other domestic problem at home relating to children, boys and girls. A total of 20% of all police recorded crime, over 1 million offences a year, are violence against women and girls. And they're saying here, this is only the tip of the iceberg. Do you remember we used that idiom last week? It means only a small part of a bigger problem. The true total is estimated to be twice as high. Yeah, that's of no surprise. I mean, when I see the way men act here, I'm really fortunate because now I've lived in many countries around the world working as a teacher. And I have to say that I learned a lot from Spanish men, as well as in the Arab world, how different men behave. And many of you perhaps have stereotypes of where you think, oh, you know, Latin men are known for being very misogynistic. And Arab men, of course, there's a stereotype, an opinion which says that they treat people badly. Well, I have to say, I never found any of that. But here in the UK, men have some very strange idea about power and control. And that comes out in friendships, it comes out in work, it comes out in domestic abuse, and it's a very, very sad thing. Really, it's an absolute tragedy, and it's very strange. You know, many people here aren't able to just be. They have to keep proving themselves. Oh, I can drink more than you because I'm a man. I can treat women badly because I'm a man, you know. I'm the boss, so I can show my power by being misogynistic. I'm a man. And yeah, it's really quite horrific when you encounter that. It's like traveling back in time. And around here, I face those kinds of attitudes daily. Of course, I really don't care, uh, but it shows that there's a lot of growing up to do here in the UK. To be honest with you, I think it's not really coming from a place of security. This type of misogyny and treating other people with violence comes from a place of insecurity. In the old days, men, of course, used to do jobs which they were proud of. You know, furniture makers, they could make a piece of furniture and then say, I've done that and I'm happy. My job, I get to meet people from all over the world and affirm them in their English. And so I can sleep at night saying, wow, I've helped a lot of people and I'm happy about that today. But yet, many of us are in jobs where we can't do that. You know, we go to meetings every day, which may be directly related to what we do on the computer, building databases, and then the boss asks us to be an ambassador for diversity in the workplace or something. And you think, you know what? I don't really feel that I'm making much of a contribution here. And of course, many of us are so distracted by admin. You know, when you work for a large company, about 3/4 of your time is proving why you still work there, proving that you should still have a job, because you have to fill in so many forms about what you're actually doing. And I think that produces a lot of anger and a lot of boredom. And people here really are bored. They're not satisfied. They don't know why, but they're kind of searching to find something. And because, you know, when you're bored, that's when bad things happen. It's when you create negative energies for yourself, or you have wrong ideas, you have too much time in your hands because you're bored. And then, of course, you tell everyone you're busy doing this, that, and the other, another phrase we've used recently, and you get into trouble. And yeah, this is all part of what it means, it seems, to be male in the English-speaking world. So very complex, this issue of identity. And then, of course, there's the issue of the English learner. Many of you, when you approach the table of learning, especially for the first time, you don't seem to know much about the identity of an English learner. It's just a lifestyle choice, something you want to do. But like everything else in life, you need to do your warm-up exercises. You need to create an energy which will sustain you and will push you forward when you're learning. If you get up today and you say, oh, you know what, spring is here, I think I'll just learn English, or maybe I should say summer's here. It doesn't work that way. You can't just decide just like that and expect your mind to be open. You have to really think about why you're learning, not about how it's going to benefit you, but how that learning is going to take place. How do you get into the mood? How do you let it really touch you? For example, as many of you know, I'm very interested in our native language in the northern part of the UK, which is called Gaelic. It's one of the indigenous languages of the UK. It exists in Scotland, Ireland. Welsh is a cousin of Gaelic as well. They're all connected. So for me, my ancestors, of course, all spoke it. So it's an added force. It's something which is appealing for me. It helps me to understand more about my family, my ancestry. So that makes it very attractive to learn. But if you're coming to English saying, well, I should learn it, but I don't know where to start and I'm not sure, yeah, there's obviously insecurities there. You need to create that energy that I spoke about with regards to how you're going to open that door to let information flow to you. Let me just explain a bit more about that before we finish, because I think it's important. So I was talking to someone the other day, and she booked a lesson on Skype, and she came to me and she said, okay, so I want to improve my English, so what are you going to do to help me? And I said, well, let's build on what you do already. So how many words are you learning a day? Or do you watch English movies or read English books? What's your current habit with English? And she said, nothing. I said, okay, well, you do know that, a class once a week isn't really going to help you much. I can give you words and grammar, but you need to be developing some kind of daily exercise to open that door of English, to let it flow in, to get into the mood of English, And she agreed. So we went through, I think, 10 words. And then at the end, I said, okay, without looking at the computer, tell me the words that we've just gone through. And she couldn't remember any of them, not even one. And I said, well, is there a difficulty with your concentration? Maybe you can't remember words just because we're all busy these days. And she said, well, I want to take lessons twice a week. You give me more words. And I said, well, I can. There's no problem with that, but it's a bit of a waste of your time if you're not going to remember any of them. So are you able to study these during the week? Oh, no, I hate studying, she said. And I said, okay, so what's the point of this then? You won't be looking at them again. So you want me to give you 20 words for you to take away? And she said, look, I have to do something because I'm not getting anywhere with my English. And so I started to explore with her why that's the case. Is her life so busy? Is she happy? What kind of things are going on that stop her from learning? And I soon discovered, of course, that she was just looking at this purely from an academic perspective. She was saying, okay, I'm here, words are there, and I need to somehow get them from the book into my head. And I was trying to explain to her that the best way to view English is a little bit like taking physical exercise. You don't just go to the gym and do. You have to have the right mindset. You have to do warm-up exercises. You have to at least listen to the Rocky theme tune, for goodness sake, Eye of the Tiger, if you remember that song from the 80s. But you have to do something to get yourself in the mood. You can't just go to the gym and say, hello, yeah, I want to do exercise, teach me. You wouldn't go to a gym and say that to the instructor, because you have to be motivated, you have to be in the mood. And it's the very same with English, you really need to be pushing yourself a little bit. But I don't mean pushing yourself physically to sit down with books. I mean, you have to be getting into that mindset. And it's that mindset that will take you farther. Right, well, I've said enough about this. So that's the story for today, which is very sad, all about violence against women. And this, of course, comes from a really warped identity. When you have a wrong sense of who you are, what you produce is going to be from that place of a wrong sense of who you are. So really important that you deal with that. and learning English is no different. The fountain will only go as high as the mechanism underneath it. So once you get your beliefs correct, the fountain will flow. Right, that's it from me for today. I hope you've enjoyed this. Let's talk soon. See you. Bye.